Welcome to the session number 3. In module number 3, certification and non-ferrous foundry practice for third semester mechanical engineering students. In previous session, we discussed about degasification in liquid metals. In that, sources of gases in liquid metals and its prevents also discussed in detail, and then different degasification methods also we'll discuss in detail in previous session. Now we'll move on to this session. We'll discuss about fettling, cleaning of castings, and then casting defects, advantages and limitations of casting, and then aluminum castings, non-ferrous castings in one type lift out type crucible furnace, and then what are the hardness used in aluminum castings we'll discuss in this session, and then presented by myself, Dr. Muniraju M, Government Engineering College, Chamarajanagar. Fettling, cleaning of castings. Here, fettling and cleaning is carried out following the shakeout, that is removal of casting from the sand mold, and then knockout, that is removal of sand core from the casting operation. That means after solidification, the casting taken out from the mold is attached with gating, risings and etc. For the proper casting is to be full, these unwanted things and projections are to be removed by cleaning and finishing operations. This process of cleaning and finishing of castings is nothing but are known as fettling of castings. That means what are the extra runner risers you have to remove from the certified casting, and then what are the sand particles sticking on the surface of the casting also you have to remove, and then this removing extra portions from the certified casting is nothing but fettling of castings. The following are the following steps involved in this. These are the 4 basic steps involved: removal of sand and other impurities, removal of cores, and then removal of excess material, finally finishing of castings. I will discuss one by one. First one will take removal of sand and other impurities. In this, the rough casting removed from the mold consists of adhering molding sand particles, and then core sand, oxides and scale, which has to be cleaned first. This is achieved manually, or it may be mechanically, or it may be by chemical means. Wire brush, sometimes you are using files and other tools are used in manual operations, while air blasting and then hydroblasting and tumbling etc. are a few equipments used in mechanical operations. Chemical cleaning methods utilize baths of molten caustic soda containing additional reagents to react with and break the surface oxide layer. This loosens adhering sand also. And then removal of cores. Here cores are removed by wrapping or knocking with an iron bar. For quick operation, hydraulic or pneumatic means are used. Sometimes hydroblasting process can be used to remove the cores. This process can be mechanized for high volume production of castings. Next one is removal of excess metal. In this removal of excess metal, this step includes removing excess metal such as fins, blisters, stems of gates and risers, and other unwanted projections from the casting. This is achieved by chipping, or it may be by sawing, flame cutting, and then grinding and other operations. Finally, we'll go for the finishing of castings. Finishing is carried out to smoothen parts of the casting where gates and risers were attached, and also improve the surface finish and appearance of the casting. Different finishing operations like grinding, polishing, buffing, etc. are used for the purpose. Next we'll go for casting defects. Here casting defects are imperfections or flaws that exist on the surface or subsurface of a solidified casting. Here casting process involves a number of variables, and a loss of control in any of these variables can cause defects under certain circumstances. Some of the common casting defects, their features and remedies to prevent such defects are discussed below. And then these are the following are some of the main reasons to attribute the defects. For these reasons, your two defects will be occur. That may be bad melting practice, and then bad pouring temperature, poor molding practice, and then poor pattern design. These are the main areas you have to create some defects in the casting. And then the main casting defects may be shrinkage defect, porosity defect, and then misrun, penetration, and then cold shut, and then RTS. These are the main casting defects. We will discuss one by one, and then what are the causes as well as remedies, how to clarify these defects. We will discuss one by one. First one, we will take shrinkage defect. Here shrinkage is a void on the surface of the castings resulting from contraction or shrinkage of metal during solidification. See, as shown in sketch, this is the solidified casting. While solidification takes place, the size of the castings is reduced, that is volume contraction will be takes place, and then this shrinkage cavity, this void is formed on the top side. The riser is used to overcome the shrinkage effect. In some cases, it fails to feed the molten metal efficiently to the casting as it solidifies. As it solidifies, the runners are placed above the casting. While solidification takes place, What are the molten metal in the riser section should be fed back to the mold, and then you have to nullify this shrinkage cavities. This is nothing but a shrinkage defect, and then you have to overcome this. You have to provide some shrinkage allowances, and then what are the remedies, and then what are the rectify this how to rectify this shrinkage defect, and then use large sprue and riser to promote directional solidification. That is about the this this is the mold or casting. About you have to place the riser, and then the size of the riser should be more, and then large sprue or riser, and then while pouring the molten metal, and then what are the riser section should be of molten metal in the riser section, and then while solidification takes place, same molten metal will feed back to the casting. That means that promote directional solidification, and locate risers and gating systems in correct positions. That is the one remedy, and then gates to be cut as wide as possible, because it has to flow easily to the molten metal. These are the remedies to overcome this shrinkage defect. Next one is porosity defect. In porosity defect, the molten metal absorbs gases from various sources such as fluxes, moisture in the sand, binders, additives, and normal atmospheric gases like oxygen and nitrogen. If these gases are not allowed to escape, they get entrapped in the mold cavity, forming small balloon-shaped voids or cavities that leads to this porosity defects in the casting. And then in this porosity defects, there are two types: blowholes and then pinholes. In sketch A, it shows the blowholes, and then the figure B shows the pinholes. And then blowholes occur below the surface of the casting and are not visible from the outside surface as shown in figure A. And then these are the pinholes, are small gas act cavities, many in number, and many in number are slightly below the surface of the casting as shown in the sketch B. And then these are the remedies of this porosity defect. Avoid excess ramming of the sand, and then provide proper vent holes, and then avoid use of excess carbonaceous or other organic material in the sand or core binders, because these materials react with the molten metal and then producing large amount of gases. Easily escape of gases you have to provide, otherwise entrapment of gases will occur, and these defects will be occur in the castings. And the next one is misrun. Misrun occur when the mold cavity is not completely filled with the molten metal. In other words, it is a defect wherein casting solidifies before the molten metal completely fills the cavity. That means the simple sketch showing the misrun. This is the sprue. Here molten metal will pour. This is the mold cavity. After pouring, the molten metal will enter the mold cavity. After filling this, will come up to this, and then solidified the casting. That means the molten metal will not enter this portion. This portion is nothing but the misrun, that is unfilled cavity. You have to rectify this defect. Fluidity of the metal should be maintained suitably, and then pouring rate and time should be controlled. Thin section should be suitably designed. These are the main factors considered. Otherwise, this mission will be occur in the casting. Next one is penetration. When fluidity of liquid metal is high, it may penetrate into the sand mold. A fused aggregate of metal and sand appears on the surface of the casting, leading to this defect. That means while pouring the molten metal, after fill this mold, that will enter the mold sand. It will penetrate the mold, and then you have to, this penetration of extra metal is in the sand is nothing but the penetration. That's why you have to rectify this penetration. The sand should be properly rammed. Properly rammed means the molten metal will not enter the sand. Okay, that is the one remedy. Another one is molding sand or core sand should not be too coarse to promote metal penetration. That is the one remedy. Another remedy, and then control proper metal temperature. Fluidity of the metal should be maintained suitable. These are the main remedies to overcome this penetration. And then mold shift. It is a step produced in the cast product along the parting line due to the sidewise relative displacement of the cope and drag. So this is the parting line surface, this is the cope box and then drag box. Before pouring the molten metal, this shift occurs. Then while shift occurs, after solidifying, this solidified casting will get. That means how to overcome this defect. Proper alignment of cope and drag bags before pouring the molten metal is very important, and then proper handling of assembled cope and drag bags during operation also is another remedy. And then cold shut. Here two portions of metal flow together, but lack of fusion due to premature freezing results in a defect known as cold shut. And then here the figure shows the cold shut defect. That means this is the pouring basin. Here molten metal will pour. After pouring, the molten metal will enter the sprue and then runner and then mold cavity. Here after entering the mold cavity, the molten metal will enter this side and then fill this side and comes. On the other side, this molten metal will enter this side also. That is two portions will of molten metal enter one side and the other side. After entering the two sides of the metal flow together, but the lack of fusion due to premature freezing results in a defect known as cold shut, and this portion molten metal will not enter. That's why this defect will be occur. And then how to rectify this cold shut, that is these are the remedies. Place gates and risers at proper locations, and then metal fluidity should be high. Freeheat the mold of smaller sections. Use proper pouring temperature. These are the remedies to overcome this cold shut. And then art tears. Here a art tear is an internal or external ragged discontinuity formed in the casting due to the pulling action of the metal just after it has solidified due to some thermal stresses induced, and then this hot tier should be formed on the junctions, and then this is solidified casting, and then this is the hot tier takes place. And then now to rectify these hot tiers, these are the remedies. Provide adequate fillets at sharp corners while designing the casting, and then proper metallurgical and pouring temperature to be maintained. This is another remedy. And then place gates and risers at suitable locations. These are the remedies to overcome this hot tears. Next we'll go for advantages of castings. These are the main casting advantages. Castings advantage of castings is many, but a few I'll mention here. Castings exhibit uniform properties in all directions, better dimensional tolerance, and surface finish can be obtained by good casting practice. Large, hollow, and intricate shapes can be easily cast, and then any complex shapes also we can produce easily by using this casting process. There is no size limitation, and shape is also one main advantage. Then quick process and hence suitable for mass production. Casting defects, casting objects have high compressive strength. Composite component can be easily made by this casting process. These are the main advantages of casting process. And then castings process also having some limitations or drawbacks. Casting process is not economical for smaller number of parts. That is economical when mass production. For small number of parts is not economical. That is the one main drawback. Process parameters are many, right from pattern making to pouring and solidification of molten metal. Monitoring these parameters to produce a good casting is a tough task, and presence of defects in cast parts is a major disadvantage. And then properties of cast materials are generally inferior compared to machining or forging process, and it gives low fatigue strength compared to forging. That is also one main drawback of this casting process. Next we'll go for non-ferrous foundry practice. Ferrous metals contains iron as its main constituent element, while non-ferrous metals do not contain iron. Ferrous metals contain iron as the main constituent element, while non-ferrous metals do not contain iron as the base metal. Ferrous metals are preferred owing to their high strength and durability, while non-ferrous metals are preferred due to their lightweight and then corrosion resistance. Although the technique of casting remains the same for both types of metals, aluminum alloy, the most widely used in non-ferrous metal in casting technology. And then while using this aluminum castings, these are the main advantages. Aluminum casting requires low capital requirements owing to its high strength to weight ratio and corrosion resistance. Aluminum castings are preferred in aerospace and automotive industry. Metallurgical or mechanical Bonded bimetal parts can be routinely cast, and an aluminum cast exhibits high strength to weight ratio. Aluminum castings can be produced easily. Aluminum castings allows display excellent fluidity characteristics for casting thin sections, and then aluminum castings require low capital requirement. These are the main advantages of aluminum castings. And then these are the limitations or disadvantages of aluminum castings. Variation in alloying elements affects properties to greater extent. For example, we will take aluminum copper alloy casting exhibit greater strength and hardness while decreased castability. And then aluminum Si alloy, silicon alloy casting exhibit outstanding castability and wear resistance, however prone for gas porosity. And then optimum properties can be achieved with proper inclusion of alloying elements. Aluminum castings are more expensive than ferrous based castings, and then aluminum castings exhibit pure resistance to abrasion and wear. These are the main drawbacks of aluminum castings. Uh, Melting of aluminum alloys. In this lift out type crucible furnace, we'll discuss in detail. Here aluminum alloys can be melted in direct or indirect fuel fed furnace or in electrically heated furnace like crucible furnace or induction furnace, etc. But in examination syllabus point of view, one type of aluminum casting, that is lift out type crucible furnace, I will discuss in detail. This is a simple sketch showing lift out type crucible furnace. Here the lift out type crucible furnace is one of the oldest and simplest type of furnace used for melting aluminum alloys in small volumes. The furnace illustrated in its simplest form in the sketch, and then the lift out type crucible furnace made from a refractory material, that is refractory lining, usually a clay graphite mixture or a high temperature steel alloy. The crucible by means of heat source, this is the fuel, that is the crucible by means of heat source like oil, or it may be gas or electricity. And then this is the crucible you have to place inside, and then above this support, it is a pedestal, above that you have to place this crucible, and then you have to place the ingots here inside the crucible. After fuel, it may be oil or gas or electricity. After the melt has reached the desired state, the crucible is lifted out of the furnace with tongs, lifted out with tongs, lifted out of the furnace with tongs, and the molten metal is directly poured into the mold cavity. After solidifying, you can remove the solidified casting. This is the simple explanation of this lift out type crucible furnace. And then we'll go for hardness used in aluminum castings. and then here the mechanical and physical properties of aluminum castings are enhanced with the use of alloying elements. Aluminum is a low melting point around 660 degrees centigrade metal, and most of the alloying elements having favorable properties have comparatively greater melting points. In such cases, alloying elements do not mix readily with the low melting point aluminum metal, and hence a master alloys or hardeners are often used. The hardeners are available in number of alloys including calcium, cobalt, copper, chromium, magnesium, manganese, and then different, and then these are the one more are using. And then example will take chromium is a melting point is around 1875 degrees centigrade. It is used as hardener with the aluminum melt in order to impart strength as well as hardness and oxidation resistance. The aluminum chromium alloy combination is called as master alloy and chromium as hardener. Initially, chromium is allowed to reach the molten state, and in this condition, a solid aluminum added and is quickly dissolved in the liquid chromium. Aluminum based master alloys, which contain the hardener elements in high concentrations, now provide a convenient and economically way to add them molten aluminum to achieve the desired final properties. These master alloys readily go into solution at lower liquid aluminum temperature, thus minimizing dross formation and solubility of hydrogen. The amount of aluminum and hardeners used is calculated during the course of melting so as to bring the final aluminum casting to the desired specification. That is about what are the hardeners used in aluminum castings. Thank you for patience listening, family. Thank you.